Welcome,
Welcome.
Housewives of True Crime.
Yeah,
Look, we're
surviving the
matching
summer.
today. We're
Oh, yeah.
matching, both of us. in
Oh,
our
I thought a
white
lot about this.
tanks.
I actually
We
wore this to
did.
dinner last night and I slept in it and we're recording early in the morning because that's how I roll.
Yes, we are recording super early because I was on a little trip and I have to tell you about it. I went to
Oh, do tell.
the Florida. You probably didn't look at our Instagram because you were too busy with your new boat. Or did you see what I posted?
I was just anniversarying it up, tab. So no, I did not see.
Oh, Anna Bro. Well, shoot. She was rocking the boat.
No, boat was not rocking.
No.
No. Had children with me. Yeah.
Okay. I got myself pulled over on the
You
Marco
did?
Island. I did.
Oh, and you got out of it.
And well, let me tell you, okay? So we were going to go on this airboat tour, alligator airboat tour through the, mangroves. Have you seen
Oh,
those
yeah.
things? Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, I
that
want
looks
to
so
see
fun.
myself. Yes. I was a little late and the lady was very much like, you better be here at 10:15 or else you're not going. And so I'm like, oh shit, trying to get the kids out. It's like 30 minutes away. So I'm driving a little fast and I knew it. But I was like, just got to get there. And I see a school zone coming up and I know immediately I need to slow down for that. And then I see the cop right by the school zone sign. And so I slowed down way before I got to him, but he had a reverse radar on his car.
Yeah.
So as soon as I passed, man, he just lit it up and then he pulled me over and I was like, damn it.
So you were driving, not the husband.
Yeah, because my husband gets all of us car sick, and don't tell him I told you that because he really doesn't like to hear it.
No, I know.
But
Yeah, I've driven with him. It sucks.
yeah, so it's just better for everybody. Like I don't
Yeah.
complain, the kids don't complain. I just drive most of the time. So yes, I get pulled over, and then the guy comes and he takes my license, and he was like, "Have you ever been pulled over before?" I'm like, in my 44 years, yes, I have. And then he asked me, have you ever had a ticket before? And I said no. So he
See, I would have been a smart ass. I would have been like, is this my lucky day?
And so he went back. And man, he was back there for so long enough that I got a picture. I did an Instagram post. And so I'm like, I can't believe it. My first damn freaking speeding ticket in my life. But then he came back and he was like, I'm not going to be the one to give you your first ticket.
Oh my, Tabitha. Life is not fair. She deserved that ticket, officer.
I did not. I did not. I'm a nice human. I'm just trying to get by. I wasn't going crazy over the speed limit, just a few miles. And he was a really nice guy. And so thank you, officer.
You have a way with the officers of the law. Good on you.
Well, it was funny because it was the same day that the NYPD case or the NYPD bonus episode came out with our friend Tom Smith.
Oh, so you're thinking about throwing that down?
And well, I told him later, I was like, hey, I have a podcast on crime if you want to check me out.
See, she never stops working at people. Never.
No, that's why we're successful.
Okay, well, good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we anniversaried it. We made all the kids get off of technology, shower, and put on clean clothes. And we went out to a nice restaurant.
You did.
And
what?
We were there about 5 minutes
Prime?
Before.
What was it called? Not
we went to the Chart House.
Ocean Club. Okay. Similar.
We didn't go to Mastro's. Yeah. I'm really glad we didn't go to Mastro's because the bill would have been probably twice as much.
Yeah.
And you know what I noticed? Not worth it. Not worth it. These kids don't appreciate a good steak.
Oh, heck no. Not a Mastro steak for
no.
They
were already annoyed that, in the summertime, there's no clothes to be washed around here. My son doesn't wear shirts. There's just
Yeah.
bathing suits. They hang up. It's great. Like laundry goes down besides towels. And so they were mad. They had to put on clothes. And then, they weren't like into the vibe.
Yeah, I
So,
know. Trust me. I know. My
yeah.
kids would rather, seriously, even on vacation, I was like, let's go to dinner. They're like, we'd want to just order room service. I'm like, you guys suck. Seriously?
Yeah.
I would have died
Yeah.
if my family took me on a vacation and then said we were all
Yeah.
going to go like have dinner at a restaurant. I mean, hot damn. If it was more than Sizzler, I was like, it was once in a lifetime.
Shit. If it was Sizzler, you get that frozen yogurt. It's really good.
And all the fried shrimp you can eat. Oh my God, it was so
Oh
good.
my God. I know. Delicious. That's about it. I hope you're not talking about a strip club because we've been talking about them a lot lately. And my husband gave me a bunch of $1 bills out of his wallet because he took a 20 and
Yes.
he told me, you know what to do with these, right? And I was like, yeah. And
What? He
then
says,
he's like,
save it
what?
for
And then
left,
he
right,
says,
center.
what? He says, yeah, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, I'm going to take them to the club. And he's like, no, we're going to use them for the ice machine because we go through a lot of ice and there's this great ice machine that you have to put, but you have to put a $1 bill in. And I'm like, oh yeah, see, my mind is
Yes.
too in the club.
Now, what
Yeah.
I would think is you save those for when you have left, right, center days with your family, and then you have the $1 bills to
No,
use.
ice machine.
Okay. Well, priorities.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get to this week's episode, Gretchen.
Okay.
This week's episode was brought to us by a lot of listeners. So I can't just name one because we got a lot of requests for this one. And it must be from our friends that like the worst of the worst, because this one is pretty bad. And so I'm going to warn you that if you are triggered by domestic abuse, this might not be the case for you, okay? And it's not a light one. This case also just came out or just was like, what do you call it? Finalized conviction, had a hearing, all that at the same time that Karen Reed's trial was going on. So it kind of got overshadowed by Karen. And then once her trial was done, his was kind of brought to light. So let's go to Cape Coral, Florida. Are you familiar?
No.
Well,
Is it it sounds like a beautiful place.
It really is. And it's just outside of Fort Myers. It's like a subdivision. And that's where I flew in. And I was just in Fort Myers yesterday.
Oh,
and it
my
is
goodness.
a really beautiful place. It's called the Waterfront Wonderland. There's about 200,000 people. So it's not small by any stretch of the imagination. There's tons of canals around. It's right by Naples, Florida. So it's a real lovely little stretch of Florida. The water is super warm, like 90 degrees. I'm not even kidding you. And the water is pretty clear. So besides being centrally located to Orlando, the Keys, Cape Coral is also known for its affordability, Gretchen. People make around $72,000 for the median household income, and a house like on the beach is only about $455,000. So
wow, damn,
not like that Dana Point over there, right?
No.
Okay, so childhood friends Stephanie Saylor, who was Stephanie Johnson at the time, and Christine Melton both were 35 years old in 2019. These ladies had known each other since they were 15. After high school, they lived together through their 20s. They even moved to Colorado before ending back up in Florida to be near their families. In 2019, they were working at a restaurant together called Duffy's in Cape Coral, which I would have gone there, by the way, to check it out if I didn't have like all my kids and all that stuff,
I'm just telling you, it's a waste of time. Don't take these kids anywhere. Taking your kids anywhere. Don't take them to restaurants.
But these two girls, they kind of sound like us. Like we met when I was 19. We like we maybe didn't live together, but we kind of lived together because I stayed at
Yeah.
your house like most of the time. And then we waited tables. They really do sound like us. Christine and Stephanie made plans for the evening of Sunday, October 6th, 2019, to meet up for a night out to listen to a band at the Buddha. It's a bar in Fort Myers. Stephanie went to Christine's duplex in Cape Coral around 10 o'clock, and since they would be drinking, they took an Uber. The Buddha was one of those big, sprawling, like crazy bars. Lots of bars inside the bar, multiple levels. It sounds like a really good time, in my
It sounds
opinion.
fun. It sounds like Tao in
It kind of
Vegas.
does sound like Tao.
And
Yeah.
even I was just listening to someone recently was saying that's like going to Vegas and going to dinner at Tao. You know what? I thought it was cool 15 years ago. I still think it's cool. It's a beautiful restaurant. I love
Didn't we just
Tao.
go there? I went there
No,
recently. Did you not
I
go there
don't know.
recently? No.
I did not go there with you last time. We went somewhere else in
Okay.
Vegas. But
I thought it was great. So,
I think our dinner at Tao would have been better. Our dinner was subpar last time.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tao is great.
I love the ambiance. I love a Buddha statue.
You really do.
I do.
And you also love it. Kind of reminds me, like, I don't know why it's called the Buddha, but it kind of reminds me of Tiki Bar. Totally two separate
I love
things,
a tiki bar so
I know
much.
you do. No. So in another part of the bar, Melissa Montanez, I think that's how you say her last name, met up with her boyfriend, 25-year-old Wade Wilson. Wade kept bugging Melissa to go with him to this guy's house that he had just met. This guy's name was Jason Shepard. Melissa was like, no can do barbecue. I don't even know this guy. And you just met him. I'm not going over to his house. Well, Wade was not happy about it. And he childishly took Melissa's keys to her car. She had a Dodge Hellcat. And he decided to proceed to party with his new friend, Jason. Melissa bugged out with a friend. She was not having Wade's behavior. On the other side of the bar, the two besties, Christine and Stephanie, continued partying through the end of the night. While Stephanie and Christine were headed up the stairs to another part of the bar, a man jumped out in front of Stephanie, not in like a scary way, but in like a, hey, look at me kind of way. He seemed pretty friendly, introduced himself. He said, hey, my name's JR, and then asked Stephanie who her friend was. Stephanie really thought nothing much of it and said to Christine, hey, this guy wants to meet you. JR's real name was actually Wade Wilson, the guy that just took his girlfriend's keys. He was with his new friend, Jason. Stephanie assumed that these guys were like at the club together and that they'd known each other. And at this time, it was pretty late. I mean, the girls got there at 10. They partied all night. It was close to 2 a.m., which is when the bars closed, and staff started shuffling people outside where all four of this crew would just chat. They chatted outside for a bit, and according to Stephanie, she really didn't get any kind of strange vibes from either of these guys. And it looked like Christine was really into JR, aka Wade Wilson. Wade was a good looking guy. He had two really deep dimples that Christine found particularly attractive. He had tattoos from the neck down, but other than the tattoos, he was pretty clean cut. And he was very tall, 6'6" with dark hair. So
okay, wait, I'm confused though. His girlfriend is just gone.
She left. Yeah, she left with a friend.
Okay.
She left her keys with Wade, and she was like, I'm out. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So then he goes upstairs to like go to another bar or vice versa. Like somehow the two girls met up with the two guys, and instantly Christine thought Wade, who had just told her that his name was JR, attractive. And Wade thought Christine was attractive.
Yeah, I remember how it was when you met somebody at a bar and they found you charming and you were like, let's hang out. That doesn't happen anymore. But I remember.
No. But when you were single all the time.
Yeah.
Or not. I mean,
sure.
You kind of wanted it to happen all the time. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the women followed Wade and Jason to a car, which was the Dodge Hellcat. They thought that obviously the car belonged to one of the guys, and they were like, yeah, let's go party on. Wade had the keys, tossed it to Jason, who got behind the wheel. And I mean, it gave the girls the impression that these guys were, kind of maybe not longtime friends, but friends more than a minute. They ended up going to Jason's house, driving together. And when they got there, they found Jason's mom on the couch watching TV. Jason's mom wasn't really happy that 4 drunk people came into her home.
That's a buzzkill.
Yeah, mommy's there watching TV, eating popcorn on the couch at 2 a.m. I was like, girl, you stay up late, man.
Yeah.
So they go down the hall and go to Jason's room. Christine and Wade almost immediately start having sex. So Stephanie and Jason went outside through like a sliding door that goes to the backyard. While that was all going on, Stephanie and Jason just hung out, talked, and per Stephanie, she said there wasn't really an attraction there, so they were just chatting. Wade and Christine came out and then back in a couple times. While they were there, the 4 of them smoked some pot. They drank a little bit more, and then Christine, Wade, and Jason also did a couple lines of cocaine.
Wow, his mommy must have been real easygoing.
I can only imagine, like thinking about this situation, I can only imagine this is not a one-off occurrence. I have this feeling that
yeah, it doesn't sound like it is.
Yeah,
listen, if my grown-ass children are still living with me, they are not bringing home people after the bars. Okay?
No, I would be like,
no, I'm not going to be cool with that at all.
No, and especially some dude that you like never seen before. No thanks.
No.
So after a couple hours, Wade told Stephanie and Christine that this guy doesn't want us in his house anymore. And Stephanie was kind of confused. She was like, wait, this guy, you mean Jason? And she just assumed that Jason and JR, aka Wade, were buddies. And now it seemed that Wade and Jason didn't even know each other. And although I can imagine it's like 5 o'clock in the morning at this point. So I don't care if you're like my best friend or not. I'd probably be like, time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go.
So when Stephanie, Wade, and Christine get to the car, which is the Hellcat, remember, the girlfriend's car, Wade now gets in the driver's seat. And dude can't drive a stick shift. Side note, I didn't know what a Dodge Hellcat was, but it is some souped up hot rod that costs like $80,000 to $90,000.
I don't think I've ever banged a dude that didn't know how to drive a stick shift. I'm just saying. A couple that is ago. Like, I don't know how to drive one, but you better. Okay.
I know, but Wade's 25. You're like 44. Like
stop it.
I don't know if they even learn stick shifts anymore, but I can't even believe there is a stick shift.
They should.
They should. Okay, so listen, I have a side note really quick. I went to the drive-in. Do you remember the drive-in? With this guy. And I was 15. I had a permit. And he took me to the drive-in, and he was drinking beers. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not driving with you. Like, this is not happening. I'm not driving with somebody that just drank.
She was so good, you guys.
I know I was. So I was like, he's like, seriously? I was like, yeah, I'll drive your car. And it was a stick shift too. And I was like, shit. And I figured it out, but it took me like a couple tries at one red light. Couldn't get it out. You have the
confidence. Gear. Yeah. That is a very typical Tabitha story. I would never have the confidence to try driving a stick.
Oh, yeah. It was better than.
But I can barely drive automatic. So
it's actually true.
Yeah.
But she wants her guys to drive a stick. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, this guy could not get out of the driveway. He was like revving up the engine. Jason came out, was like, what the heck's the problem, dude? And finally, like Stephanie was like, let's get out of here. Let's call an Uber. And they did. So the three of them get into an Uber together, get back to Christine's apartment, and now it's 6 a.m. Stephanie got her stuff together. She had to leave. She had to take her son to school the next morning, and then she had to work at 10 a.m. at Duffy's, which
Good
seems
thing she did
like
that blow. Yeah.
no, Stephanie didn't do it. Only Christine did.
Oh, she didn't. Oh,
No.
okay.
So, dude, I mean, I did that stuff like in my 20s, but I could 35. Girlfriend's still going strong.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Christine gave Stephanie a hug, told her she'll see her tomorrow. Then what happened next is stuff out of Nightmare Scratchy. When Christine fell asleep, Wade got some crazy impulse and climbed on top of her and strangled her to death for no reason. He waited a while in her house. Then he rolled up some clothes, rolled her in a blanket, and then intended to put her in her own car's trunk. But according to him, he couldn't pick her up because he thinks that rigor mortis had started to set in, which would mean that it was hours and hours. Based on the timeline, I don't know if that's possible. I think the dude just couldn't like pick her dead weight up, but it's really
Maybe he just couldn't lift that much. He can't drive a stick.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what happened because it was between 6 and I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning, something around there. And so it's here nor there, though, really. I mean, he just killed
awful.
this beautiful, innocent woman. Wade then abandoned the idea of putting Christine's body in the trunk and instead got in her car and drove away. Throughout the morning, Wade tried to call his girlfriend, Melissa, but she refused to answer. And then she finally did answer, and Wade asked if he could come and get her. She was still real pissed about him taking her car from the night before, and they got in an argument on the phone. And then eventually Melissa would agree to meet Wade at her work, which was in downtown Fort Myers. Melissa had a friend with her at work and had her friend go outside with her when Wade pulled up. Melissa, of course, was expecting her car to be there, but instead, Wade was in a black Nissan Versa. Wade, who I mentioned was 6'6", tried to get Melissa, 5'2", and maybe like a bit over 100 pounds, she's tiny, into that car with him. He grabbed her so hard it nearly ripped her dress off of her, and Melissa was not having it. She put her arms up like stiff as a board, like in plank position, and would refuse to let Wade drag her in the car. So then Wade decided to drag her upstairs into her own business, where he held her against the wall by her throat. And Melissa, at this point, she thought that he was going to like throw her over the railing or kill her by choking her. But instead, Wade just punched her straight in the face, and blood started pouring all over, which kind of stunned Wade. Melissa then just took advantage of the like second distraction that Wade like was stunned, ducked under his arm and ran. And while this was all going down, Melissa's friend was calling 911. But before the police could get there, Wade got back into the Nissan Versa and took off. Wade drove a little ways down the street until he saw a innocent woman walking down the road. Her name was Diane Ruiz. She was 43-year-old mother. Diane was heading to her job at the Moose Lodge. It was like a 15 minute walk. Wade stopped when he got to her and he said, "Hey, I'm looking for the high school." And Diane said, "It's just right there. It's like right up the road." And he was like, I couldn't find it. So somehow he convinced Diane to get into the car with him to drive a short distance to the high school. And unfortunately, she did. He then, without warning, started strangling Diane. He saw what, by his own admission, he said he saw Diane getting nervous when he wasn't stopping around the high school to let her out, and then he just attacked. Diane fought really hard for her life. She tried to get out of the car, but Wade, I told you, he's large, and he just continued to choke her. Once he thought Diane was dead, he looked for somewhere to dump her body, and he spotted an empty parking lot behind Sam's Club. He pulled into it. When he pulled Diane's body out of the passenger seat, he realized that she wasn't dead, and she even tried to stand up. So then Wade got back in the car and decided to run over her multiple times. It was an awful, awful, awful killing. He then moved her to the bushes near that parking lot. By this time, Fort Myers police were actually searching for Wade regarding the assault on Melissa. They had no idea that he had killed 2 other women, but they did spot him. He was sitting in his car, or not his car, he was sitting in Christine's car at the Joe's Crab Shack.
Joe's Crab Shack is so gross.
Oh my God, that is so funny you say that, because Sean wanted to go to Joe's Crab Shack this weekend, of all places. And I was like, we are not going there.
No.
He's like, it's like Outback. I was like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
And
no,
it's
not.
not even
God,
close
the horror.
to Outback.
Outback, sacred.
I know.
Come on.
I know. That's what I said. I was like, okay, let's find an Outback then, because I'd 150 times more.
And the crab at Outback is good.
Yeah, it is. It's like Alaskan king
crabs.
It's
real good.
They're really good.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to go to Outback tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cop pulled the cruiser in front of the Nissan and tried to talk to Wade. They tried to get him to roll down his window, but he was like a little fuck. Like, you roll it down a little bit and then roll it back up. And then they were like, we need to talk to you about what happened with Melissa this morning. And Wade denied any involvement. He was so uncooperative with these people, he would not get out of his car. And then he just decides to take off, squeezing his car past, or not his car, I'm sorry, I keep saying his car, but it's Christine's car, past the patrol car, which the patrol guy, I guess, thought that there was no way to squeeze through, but Wade somehow figured out how to jam his way through and took off. Officer did give a little bit of a chase, but there was bad traffic, and being that this was a misdemeanor for Melissa's battery charge and not knowing that he's a killer on the loose,
right,
they called off the search. Wade then drove to Cape Coral to a friend's business, where he showed up shoeless, wearing only sweatpants, no shirt, and was bloody and missing teeth. Wade told his friend Josh, who, by the way, Josh was like a friend, but not that good of a friend, that he had just done something horrific and killed people. At first, Josh did not believe him, but Wade kept repeating the story and doubled down and said he killed people last night. Josh then said, okay, I've got to handle something really quick with my business, and called the police.
Smart.
I know, really smart. But then Wade left again before the police could get there, and this time he left on foot. Wade then broke into a house in Cape Coral. Luckily, the owners had just left on a trip, because I can imagine if they were still there, they would have been Wade's next victims.
Right.
Wade helped himself to their fridge, eating their food, drinking a bunch of White Claws, and then decided that he was also going to wear their clothes. At this point, Wade made a phone call to his birth father, Stephen Testauskas. I'm sorry, his last name is real weird. Testaseca.
Sounds like testes. Let's just call him Stephen T.
Stephen T. kind of reads that way too. Okay. So Wade's parents, just side note, Wade was adopted. Wade's parents had him when like Steve was just 14 years old,
Wow.
which is real young. Stephen was not in Wade's life until they reconnected when Wade was 18 years old. And they were not particularly close, but Stephen would say he would call from time to time when he needed some help, which means that he needed financial help. And Stephen would often help him. When he initially called Stephen, Wade told him that he needed help and he had done something he couldn't take back. Stephen thought Wade was talking about being in an argument with his girlfriend, but he was at work and he was like, dude, I got to get back to work. Call me around dinner time. A little while later, Stephen got a call from a detective. He didn't tell Stephen why, but he said he was looking for Wade and he wanted to know if Stephen had seen him. Stephen told him no, and the detective then gave him a number and said, call me back if, you see Wade. Wade finally called back around dinner time, and at this time, he said something even more ominous. Wade told Stephen that there were two people that weren't coming back and that he was a killer. Stephen was kind of used to Wade's like ranting and stories, and I guess Wade was sometimes a liar. And so he said he didn't put much to the call, which in my mind, if somebody told me they killed somebody, I don't know if I would think they were lying. But
I wouldn't chance it.
I know. So then Wade called back a third time. And this time it was around 10 o'clock. And then he told his dad all the grisly details. I'm not going to go into the details because what Wade said was derogatory and disgusting. And it's basically what I just told you, but in like awful language and inhumane way. And there's like absolutely no remorse at all by this human being. Like real bad. And what Stephen said is when Wade first started telling him these stories, Stephen's initial reaction was to protect his son. But as Wade talked through all of it, he sounded real excited, almost bragging to his dad. There, like I said, there was zero remorse. And Stephen felt that Wade wanted him to feel the same way about these killings, like he was proud of him.
Dude, that's dark.
That thankfully was enough for Stephen to think, what if this happened to my mom or my daughter or somebody else? And so,
yeah, Stephen, that's right.
Yeah, that is right. And he said he knew that Wade would kill again. So Wade's told Stephen he was hiding out in this house that he had broken into. And Stephen thankfully told Wade he was going to send an Uber for him to pick him up. And he needed the address. At this time, Stephen's wife called that detective and gave him the address of where Wade was.
Yeah.
Stephen was still actually on the phone with Wade when the police got to the house. He told Wade to give himself up, go outside, hands up, and surrender. And Wade finally was taken into custody. But Gretchen, remember, these cops have no idea that Wade killed these two women. Only like really the father knows. So at this point, Christine, let me take you back. Christine wasn't scheduled to work at Duffy's that day. Stephanie wasn't really worried about her because they were up till 6 a.m. And so, or she could think that she was up even longer. She left at 6 a.m. So Stephanie tried to call her after she got off work, but Christine didn't answer and she didn't seem super worried.
She probably thought she was sleeping or something.
Yeah, she did think that. After a few minutes later, Stephanie's phone actually rang, and it was the Cape Coral Police Department. They had located Christine's car at Josh's business, and they were concerned about Christine's whereabouts. They asked if they knew where Christine was, and or if Stephanie knew why Christine's car was in Fort Myers, and she did not have any of those answers to those questions. But after they hung up, she did have reason to be concerned. Police were also really concerned about Christine. So they go to her house, they break in the door, and as soon as they enter, they see Christine wrapped up in bedding, and they pulled the sheets back and they saw that Christine was cold as ice. They slowly backed out, put it on, crime tape around, and it became a crime scene. When Stephanie learned what happened to her friend, she immediately went to the police department to provide a statement. When she was there, detectives showed her a lineup of 6 men and asked her if any of them were the ones that they had partied with the night before. Stephanie saw Wade right away. She identified him to the detectives as the man that she saw Christine last with. The next day, October 8th, the police were searching for a whole different case for Diane, who had just been gone missing and no connection to Wade at this time, because somebody had found Diane's purse near the elementary school and turned it in. And it would be actually 2 more days before they actually found Diane's remains and gave her son the most heartbreaking news. News that, would forever change this kid's life. When they got Wade in custody, and they got all these, different stories from different people, they kind of are piecing it all together. But Wade himself would actually tell officers all the gruesome details of his killings. But then, which I don't even understand how this happens, they can recount their confession.
Yeah.
Yeah. He recanted his confession, which clearly was.
They have to they have to make a statement, sign it, or it's not official.
Yeah. So I don't know if his telling of the details were actually official. I think they were just him ranting about what happened. And then he said that didn't really happen. And then in November of 2019, Wade made one interview for NBC where he basically said that he didn't do anything. They said, you have no involvement in Christine Melton. And he said, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And he said, okay, so Christine was alive when you saw her and left her house in her vehicle? He says yes. He also says he stopped for Ruiz for directions, but that's it. Clearly he's, lying. He was in jail for a very long time before his trial. It would be 3.5 years, actually, that he would sit there. He also, tried to break out of prison and almost was successful, but then wasn't, thankfully. And I don't know why it took so long. I guess it could probably be because COVID happened.
Yeah, everything was backed up.
Yeah, everything gets backed up. But the full charges that he faced were first-degree murder for killing Christine, grand theft motor vehicle, battery, first-degree murder for Diane, burglary, and first-degree petty theft. When Wade first went to jail, he looked like I had described to you, tattoos from the neck down. None on his face. But at the time of his trial, he was covered in face tattoos. Really awful face tattoos, swastikas. And he has a Joker smile scar tattoo across his face. You know who this guy is?
No, I don't know who this guy is, but
Disgusted
I almost
by
have
him?
pity. Yeah, I almost have pity for his defense attorney.
Oh
because
my gosh.
I know everybody is entitled, but how do you defend without the tattoos? It's already I don't know how you stomach that. And with those tattoos, to get up in front of a group of people and say anything
I
in their
know.
defense.
Dude,
I don't know how
okay.
you do that.
So that's funny that you say that, because there is a video of his attorney sitting next to him right when the trial's starting, and I don't think he noticed the swastika yet because he's covered in face tattoos. Okay, he's sitting next to him and he turns and he, like, I think this is the point where he realizes that there's a swastika on his face, and he like you can see his like repulse in his, like, he like backs up and is like, oh shit. You know, it's like he is repulsive human. And I also, I mean, I think that his defense attorneys, I watched them, and they think they do think he's an awful
Repulsive.
human.
Yeah.
They do. The trial started on June 10th, 2024, and Wade Wilson faced the death penalty, and rightfully so, in my opinion. His attorneys did ask that Wade would be able to cover his tattoos for the trial, and the judge actually granted that request, that he was able to cover his tattoos with makeup. However, dude didn't do it. He went full Monty.
He didn't do it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
He showed up. He did show up in like nice clothes and clean, very clean cut. His hair was like very clean. But his smirk on his face the whole time, he is a real
sounds like a nightmare.
Bad guy. Yes, but here is also the nightmare, Gretchen. Women are swooning over this man. I'm not even kidding you.
Shut up.
Yes. Chris Watts situation. It's fucking
gross.
disgusting. It's so gross. It is like so. I bet you he's getting more fan mail than freaking anybody. The trial started. Prosecutors, provided detailed account of what happened to the women. They had lots of witnesses, including Wade's father, who I think really made the final punch, because he's the one that he told him everything, Wade Wilson's attorney, Lee Hollander, didn't dispute that Wade was guilty. Instead, he argued that under the influence of drugs, that the murders were not premeditated. He says, I'm not arguing insanity. I'm arguing the state is claiming premeditation. I'm arguing he's whacked out of his mind. And this is how this happened. I think that's like the only thing they could do for this guy. The jury only deliberated for 2 hours before returning their verdict. They found Wade Wilson guilty on all charges. The verdict was read, and Wilson sat there with no emotion. Behind him were the 6 victims. So they have not sentenced him yet. They were going to sentence him on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, but they just yesterday, like we're recording this on Saturday, so on Friday, they just said that they are not going to sentence him. They're going to push it because they are going to give him some sort of scan on his head to see if he's like basically been dropped on the head. And had a head injury. I know. That's what I think. And it's like, dude's probably pounding his head in his jail cell. So he like, they find like head injury. And it's like, dude, I don't care if you have a head injury or not. Like, you are a bad human. And if I know I give my opinions a lot and some people don't like it, but man, this is one that I think death penalty all the way. And by the way, the state is going to pay $10,000 for this guy to get these scans.
Yeah.
Waste of money.
Yeah, it just seems like irrelevant.
Totally. Here's another weird thing, okay? So in 2023, Governor DeSantis signed a bill that requires only 8 out of the 12 juries to vote in favor of death penalty. But before that bill was signed, it had to be unanimous in terms of death penalty, and his was not unanimous. His was, I think, 9 out of 12, 4, and 8 out of 12, something like that. So both counts were not unanimous in the death penalty. And because his crime happened before 2023, they're trying to fight that he shouldn't be able to get death penalty, which I think that might hold up.
You know, I have my feelings about the death penalty are all over the map. I mean,
mine are too.
I can be for it one day and not for it the next. And sometimes with the crimes like this, I think, you know, if he gets the death penalty, he's kind of getting the easy way out. You know?
Yeah. He's a young guy.
But I also think he's like a danger to other prisoners. He sounds so scary.
He's scary.
And it's going to cost so much money to keep him alive.
He's a real scary dude.
Yeah.
Really scary.
So I'm a little confused as to, I mean, you knew all the details of what he told his dad. Did his dad never tell the police that?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He did. Yeah. Remember, his dad was the one that called the detective right away. And the dad did tell the police.
He said at that point, like, he's claiming to have killed people.
Yes. But at that point, I mean, now they had Christine tied really closely right away because the car was in the parking lot. He was last seen with Christine, but Diane was kind of a one-off, right? She was just walking in a neighborhood that had nothing to do with him. I mean, they tied it together pretty quickly when he was like, hey, I picked up this lady that was walking to work and, you know, Diane was missing. So it didn't take long to tie it all together. It was just really kind of weird. I mean, he is an epitome of a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know, in a real wacko way because, you know, he wasn't doing it.
God, the poor girlfriend that survived. I mean, poor everyone.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I was going to tell you, I mean, I just wish her so well. I mean, for her, she would have been another one of his victims too. I mean, she was his victim, but she would have died for sure if she would have got in that car. And the fact that she survived, I really hope that I wish that she has a lot of empowerment in her life and like she's really kind of teaches us a little bit, right? Like she fought so hard and just putting your arms up like that, I mean that's like very smart.
It is very smart. I just imagine that it's quite the burden to bear to be that. I mean, she was involved with him so romantically. So for someone that you're that close to commit such horrendous acts, 100%. It's like shakes you to your core.
Totally. Yeah. I had it written here that, I mean, I hope that her trauma in this does not possess her and that she gets like the help that she needs to really definitely overcome that, because I think that she's a business owner. She's a real strong girl. She was involved with this douche that, you know, she was in a domestic violence relationship where a domestic abuse relationship. This was not the first time that he had abused her. You know, it's the hardest thing to leave your abuser, but it is really the best thing that you can do for yourself. Diane, I just want to say she was a 43-year-old single mom. Her customers and coworkers at the Moose Lodge describe her as a real wonderful woman. She was engaged to Scott Hannon at the time. And her son is now in college. He testified at her trial. He also spoke at the end, and he is a real accomplished young man. And so, you know, he's terribly sad that his mom is not going to see him grow up and all these accomplishments. He's going to be the first in his family to graduate college. It's unfortunate, but I wish him well. And then Christine, she was 35 when she died, and she was known as a real friendly person. She was happy-go-lucky. She loved to travel. She was real adventurous. And her sister says she was the best aunt to her nieces and nephews and a real true friend. So rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy, sad, bizarre story.
Okay, well, we'll be on standby when he gets sentenced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
soon. Hopefully sooner than later. And that was all for today. If you guys have not checked out our bonus episodes, Gretchen has a crime coming up this Thursday. And then last Thursday's episode was with our friend Tom Smith from Golden Shields podcast. Gold Shields, sorry, I said Golden. Gold Shields podcast.
Not golden showers, golden shields.
Yes. He is a retired NYPD detective, and y'all loved that interview. So we will do more like that. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, if you listen on Apple, it's on the Clink Clink Club. If you listen on Spotify, it's on Housewives of True Crime bonus content, or you can go to patreon.com/housewives of true crime. Also, if you have not checked out our skincare line and hair growth serums, this is the time to do that because it is summer and our stuff is made for skin that needs extra moisturizing. And we know your hair breaks off in the summer from all that damage. So the hair serum is great and the skin serum is great and all of it is amazing. So please check it out at Five Crimes, FIVE crimes.com. Anything else, Scratchy Poo?
That's all.
All right. Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.